Good morning, everyone.
Good morning, Honorable Vilakazi.
Good morning, honorable members. If I quickly look, it seems as though we do have a sufficient number of members to start this meeting. Let me start by welcoming all the members present and
Recording
also
in progress.
the team from the AGSA, the AG, Ms. Madodeki, the DAG, Mr. Chalky, and all the other team members, also the committee staff, parliamentary staff, and all other persons present. You are most welcome. Thank you very much. On this Friday morning, we do have a very full agenda and a lot to get through. We are also constrained with regards to time because of many plenaries that's starting at 10 o'clock this morning. But let's do our best to get the work done. Let's start with noting any apologies, Zubaida.
Thank you, Chairperson. Good morning, everyone.
We have apologies from Honourable Bateman and Honourable Beasley.
Any further apologies from anybody that anybody wants to have noted? Don't see any hands. Then with those apologies noted, we can continue. Members, you have received the agenda beforehand. It can be flighted, please. There any mover for the adoption of the agenda? Honourable Subrati.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, good morning to yourself and to all other guests on the call. I move for the adoption of the agenda. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honourable Subrati. Honourable Harbour.
Good morning, Chair, and everyone. I second the move. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that. Then the agenda is adopted, and we can then move to the minutes. We have two sets of minutes to consider. Debater, if you can flight the first set, which is the 5th of September. These minutes were also circulated beforehand, so I'll just move quite quickly page for page. If there's any corrections, please raise your hand. Page 1, move to page 2, page 3, page 4, 5, 6, page 7, 8, page 9, page 10, 11, and the last page, page 12. Any corrections, honourable members? Then move for the adoption of the minutes of the 5th of September. Honourable Subrati.
Jefferson, I move for the adoption of the minutes.
Thank you very much. Seconder.
Maree.
Thank you, Honourable Maree. Then those minutes are seconded. Any objection to the adoption of those minutes? None. Then they are approved. Then we move to the minutes of last week's meeting, the 12th of September. Better just try again. I see it highlighted there. There it is. More members, it's shorter minutes. Page 1. Any corrections? Just show your hands. Page 2. Page 3. Page 4. Page 5. Page 6. 7, 8, the last page. Any corrections? And obviously a mover for the adoption. Honourable King.
Thank you, Chairperson, and greetings to everyone on the platform. Chairperson, I would like to move for the adoption of the minutes. Thank you.
Thank you, Honourable King. Appreciate. Seconder.
Maree.
Thank you, Honourable Maree. Then those minutes are adopted if there's no objection. Don't see any hands for objection. So then those minutes and both sets of minutes are adopted. Thank you very much for that. We can then move on to the business of this meeting, and that brings us to the briefing by the DAG on the progress made in terms of the control weaknesses that they were identified, and members would remember that that was some of those weaknesses were highlighted in the Mbasu complaint, but other weaknesses were already identified prior to the complaint, and there were work already done to correct those seemingly weaknesses and to improve the internal controls in terms of the AGSA's functioning with regards to those matters. So we did request a report on the stance currently and the progress made, and I then hand over to the AGSA. AG, I don't know if you would want to make some introductory remarks and then hand over to the DAG, but I do hand over to you. It's in your hands.
Thank you very much, Honourable Chair. Good morning to the honourable members, as well as my colleagues on the platform. Honourable Chair, I'm quite happy for the Deputy Auditor-General as the accounting officer of the institution to present his input without much interface with me. Thank you very much for the opportunity, Chair.
Thank you, AG. DAG, you're most welcome.
Good morning, Honorable Chair and honorable members. Good morning, AG, and good morning to my colleagues from Team AGSA. I noticed about 15 minutes, Chair, so I'll be quite brief. We did share the presentation with SCoAG members, and I hope that we have had a chance to go through it. So given the limited time, I will be quite brief. If you can please show the slides. Chair, while the slides are coming up, I submitted a detailed report to SCoAG on in May early this year, and most of the background information is captured in that report. So I will be quite brief in terms of giving the background. But before dealing with the specific control weaknesses, I will share with the committee the background to how we got to the situation and give the committee comfort that we have attended to the control weaknesses that were identified. Chair, our mission and vision still remains the same, and I hope by now the committee is fully aware about our role as the SAI to assist in enabling oversight and accountability. Our values, Chair, are still that we care, we build trust, we do the right things, and we excel in all we do. And in the work that we're going to discuss today, Chair, it was on the basis of these values that we addressed the concerns that were raised. Chair, the quick background as to what happened to this matter is that the AG had raised some performance issues with the Chief People Officer, the former Chief People Officer, Mr. Mabaso. He asked for a meeting with her that took place on the 27th of June, 2022. In that meeting, the former CPO indicated that he was hurt by some of the comments that the AG raised when she was addressing some performance concerns that the People's Portfolio at that stage was not coming to the party to do. He then threatened that he can damage her. In that particular meeting, he then produced a piece of paper which he said that she had acted in an unethical, corrupt, and unprofessional manner. The AG reported that matter to myself as the accounting officer, and based on that, we commissioned an investigation that dealt with two aspects. The first aspect was to investigate the conduct of the CPO in threatening the AG. The second part was to get a legal opinion as to whether in the AG's decision that she made that were contained in those allegations, whether they met the legality, and if not, whether they did amount to corrupt, unethical, or unprofessional behavior. The investigation into the CPO was concluded, and it was found that his action was deemed to be extortive. It was found when the investigators went through his laptop, that he had prepared a settlement arrangement, although he did not present it to the AG, and hence it was deemed to be extortive in addition to the threat that he made. He was then subjected to a disciplinary hearing, which the finding was a summary dismissal. Upon considering the recommendation of the chairperson of the DC, I then dismissed the former Chief People's Officer, Mr. Mabaso. Just to give quick background as to the engagement with the SCoAG of the 6th administration chair, and I'll be fairly brief because this is contained in the report that I've already submitted to yourselves, is that it was just after COVID when we were now allowed to meet in person, and SCoAG then wanted to have a strategy session similar to what you were having recently yourself. They asked to be hosted in our offices. It was a proud moment for us to host a SCoAG, having just moved into our new offices and now being able to meet in person. The meeting took place on the 25th and 26th of August, and towards the conclusion of the meeting, AG felt that it's an opportune moment for her to take SCoAG into confidence and update them about this particular matter. She briefed SCoAG in that session without AG personnel, because there were people that were being mentioned in this thing, and to protect their dignity, we excused the rest of the AG staff members, and only AG and myself briefed SCoAG in terms of where we are. At that stage, the investigations were still ongoing, for both the one for the legal opinion and the one for the CPO. The SCoAG then advised us that we should conclude the process, and once it's concluded, we can then brief them. Upon conclusion of the legal opinion chair, SCoAG convened a meeting on the 16th of September, where I briefed SCoAG opinion. The opinion was shared with them, which is also the current SCoAG that's a copy thereof, and there was a presentation that supported my presentation on that particular day. AG was part of that meeting. She first briefed SCoAG, and also we had our audit committee chair in the meeting that gave the oversight and the view of the audit committee as far as this matter was concerned. On the opinion, I think it's now a matter of public record, and I think SCoAG has gone through that particular opinion. It did indicate that it was clear and stated that the actions of the AG while she was serving as the AG, or when she was AG, as far as those matters were concerned, were not corrupt, unethical, nor unprofessional. However, there were certain governance and internal control weaknesses that were identified, and that is what I need to give the committee an update as to how we need to address them. We did prepare at the time a time-bound plan of action to address the governance and internal control weaknesses, which were subject to be monitored by the audit committee of AGSA. The audit committee was provided with regular updates on the progress that we're making, and when all items were closed, the audit committee briefed SCoAG of the 6th administration on the 3rd of November 2023, confirming that all matters identified has been resolved. I'll quickly recap on the engagement with the SCoAG in the 7th administration chair. So just a quick update, this engagement on this particular slide 6 chair is with the current administration, and not the previous one, a slight update on that particular slide.
Yeah, G, if I could just stop you for a minute, sorry about that. Your network is not very good currently. You're breaking up. Colleagues are struggling to hear you. I'm not sure if maybe if you switch off your video, it might help.
Thank you, Chair. Let me check that I am on the Wi-Fi. Are you able to hear me properly now?
You're much better now, yes.
Thank you, and thanks for letting me know about that, Chair. I appreciate it. On this particular slide, Chair, this is the engagement with the current SCoAG. You had asked me to prepare a report regarding what has transpired following you getting the complaint from Mr. Mabaso. which was done on the 16th of May. You have resolved that we should take you through how we have addressed the various governance and internal control weaknesses, which is what I'm doing today. In essence, Chair, the governance concerns that were raised was, you will recall that there were allegations that the AG approved the salary increase of the AG. The accrual report identified a concern in the sense that the DAG who reports to the AG had to approve the AG salary as a senior. The other concern was around the payment of the interest on the deferred compensation, which indicated that the interest that were due and payable according to common law, but the period that was then calculated was incorrect. And lastly, there was a concern on the appointment of one of the officials. We look into all this matter and we took them seriously, and we set about to address them. And I will take the committee into how each one was addressed. But overall, Chair, I'm still on the background slide. But overall, Chair, all issues were addressed. Some of them were addressed by the amendment that happened with the PAA. So the issue regarding the DAG having to approve the AG's salary, it got addressed by the amendment that came into effect in April 2019. That happened when the PAA was amended. So I'll quickly deal with each specific aspect, Chair, at a very high level, appreciating that we have read the report. So if we go to the matter regarding the salary increase, I've already mentioned that the key concern on the governance side was the situation where the DAG had to approve the AG's salary increase. This has been changed. The amendment now is that the independent remuneration committee recommends to the president the salary increases of all officials, including the AG salary. So now the DAG doesn't have to approve the salary increase. We wait for the communication from the presidency, and then we only affect that particular increase as deemed by the president upon the recommendation of the IRC. So this matter is deemed closed, Chair. Moving on the payment of interest, the opinion found that while the appointment letter was silent as to whether interests were due and payable, by common law, interests were due and payable. However, the way that the interests were calculated, the period was not correct. There was a slight overpayment. Upon consideration, looking into the cost benefit, I decided as the accounting officer that it is not worth pursuing. After I had engaged with the executor of Mr. Makwetu's estate, who advised me that they have since finalized that process, and as such, I could not make a claim against that. So this matter is also deemed closed. We gave the audit committee a much more detailed update into the legal opinions that I received around this matter, and we have since closed this matter, Chair. On the recruitment aspect, what was found was on the job profile of one of the officials, which was the head of communication, the manner in which it was crafted, it did not give the option for alternative qualifications. It was very specific on a particular qualification, but when you look into it, we realized that it was not properly crafted. What we did there, Chair, was to go and review the various job profiles, especially in the support side of the business, to make sure that they are all properly articulated. And this was not just limited to this particular role, but we've done a review across the various roles to ensure that where we want to indicate particular minimum requirement, it is clear as to how that is captured. This matter is also closed, Chair. Thank you. So in conclusion, Chair, I'd like to reconfirm to the SCoAG members that the matters have been concluded. We had reported to SCoAG in the 6th administration and the audit committee that was providing the oversight to the action plans that we had implemented. did confirm on the 3rd of November to the SCoAG of the 6th administration. And I'd like to confirm again today, Chair, that the control weaknesses that were identified have all been addressed. As a learning organization, we took the opportunity to reflect on some of the weaknesses that were identified, and we are continuously improving our internal control environment. I thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much for that, DAG. Do appreciate, and it was important for the members to receive this, although it was to a large extent dealt with and ventilated in the previous administration. It is important because the issues were again raised that we got this update. So I do want to thank you for presenting that and welcome the presentation. Honourable members, I'm giving you an opportunity to engage and ask questions for clarity or make any inputs with regards to the presentation that we have received now. By a show of hands. Any takers to engage?
No. Chair, I trying to put my hand up, but I think my network also has a problem. I wonder if I may.
Okay, let me, I see Honourable Subrati, and then I saw Honourable Murray, and then yourself, Honourable Vilakazi. So in that order, please, Honourable Subrati.
Thank you.
Honourable Chair, maybe please may you allow Honourable Vilakazi to come in first. I'll come in after him. Thank you.
And then I'll go to Honourable Murray, and then Honourable Vilakazi. Honourable Murray.
Then, thank you, Chair. No, I said I'm fine. Thank you. That's what I want to say. Thank you.
Okay, no problem. Honourable Vilakazi.
Thank you, Chair. My apologies. My laptop is slow in responding this morning. I'm not sure what the issue is. I wanted to just ask a few questions in regard to the presentation. I'm very much aware that I'm new to the committee, so some of the information, as you mentioned, has been discussed previously, and so I may not. I don't have access to that, and so I may sound like I'm repeating something that's already been said. My apologies. I was just unsure at some point, DAG, because it says that it said something that on slide 8, it says the amendments are from 2019. There were amendments that were made to the Act. I think it was, it's not here on my notes. And it says they now address a matter, but this matter seems to me to have arisen after those amendments had been made. This is in reference to slide 8. I just wonder about the timing difference there, which came first. And I also just wondered, I tried to research it but couldn't find it, DAG. Who currently sits on the Remuneration Committee, and who on that committee is the AG representative? I saw on the Public Audit Act and its amendments that I think it says there will be not more than 5, and then there will also be the AG representative on there. And on slide 9, where it speaks of the approval of payment of interest on deferred compensation, I wonder, has the fact that the employment contract was silent on interest and deferred payment been addressed? And what action was taken internally to avoid a repeat of this? On slide 10, regarding recruitment and appointment, it says all profiles have been assessed and aligned to qualifications and experience requirements. I'm wondering to myself, where did the DAG get the authority to take this approach from? Or was it a case of making rules up as we go along? Oh, we appoint someone, it turns out that there are allegations that they may not be suitable for the role, and so the way to get around that is to review and then align, taking into account other qualifications and experience. I'm wondering if that is part of the process that had been authorized at the time. And also just, is this not tantamount to changing job specs to fit a particular preferred candidate or changing rules on the fly and after the fact? And then what percentage of roles needed to be realigned? Was it all of the roles? What percentage of them? And one of the reasons I ask these questions is because I know that in issues of appointments, particularly where there is some controversy around the appointments, if it is seen that there is some solution that is stitched to address the particular issue, it may cause those staff members, the rest of the staff, to be aggrieved. And so I wondered if you can make a comment on this. What's been the impact of the alignment on staff morale, especially confirming an official that was initially seen as not fulfilling the requirements of a particular position? And then on slide 12, the conclusion, it says the effectiveness of these newly implemented policies and systemic changes are monitored on an ongoing basis. How are they monitored? And can you give us an example of this, please? Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Honourable Vilakazi. Honourable Subrati.
Thank you, Chairperson. Chairperson, maybe let me begin right at the end by indicating that the former CPO's threats and subsequent dismissal raises serious concerns about internal governance. And maybe my question there would be, what are the specific safeguards that have been implemented to ensure that the AGSA's leadership remains insulated from extortive or unethical behavior? Because clearly this incident has to be an incident from which we learn. And I thought I'll begin right at the end. And maybe coming to the first issue, first let me welcome DAG's presentation. DAG, this is a critical point that we needed to get clarity, and so we really appreciate the manner in which you dealt with each issue. But we have certain queries relating to each of them. Regarding the salaries, allowances, and benefits, maybe can you elaborate on how the amendments of the PAA Act, the Public Audit Act, addresses the previous governance gaps related to the determination of AG's salaries, allowances, benefits, and maybe what steps are being taken to ensure that the independent Remuneration Commission's recommendations are consistently adhered to in the future. With regards to the incident on deferred compensation and the interest thereof, the decision to write off the overpayment of interest on deferred was based on cost considerations. How does this decision align with the AGSA's constitutional obligation to ensure financial accountability to the public sector? And maybe was this decision reviewed by the Independent Review Remuneration Commission or another oversight body? And why was the decision made to write off the overpayment of interest on the deferred, and what lessons have you learned from that for the future? And maybe the last question to that would be, are there any additional safeguards that you're implementing to ensure accurate calculations of deferred compensation payments? Chairperson, I'll pause there. I think my colleagues will also be engaging the report further. Thank you so much, Chairperson.
Thank you very much, Honourable Subrati. I see Honourable Likachaba and then Honourable Mofokeng.
Thank you, Chair. Good morning, the Chair, the colleagues, AG and the DAG. And thanks for your presentation, DAG. On the CPO incident and its investigation, I would like to sponsor a question from that. What is the current status of the criminal case to open against the former CPO, and how is the AG ensuring that such incidents are prevented in future? Coming to the future risk, What additional risks have been identified so far as a result of the governance review, and how is the AG preparing to mitigate such risk? Are there any plans to conduct periodic reviews on governance and control system to ensure that continue relevance and effectiveness? Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you very much, Honourable Mofokeng.
Thank you, Chairperson. And good morning to AG and DAG, honorable members. And let me also welcome the presentation made by the DAG. Chairperson, I have only 2 questions on the presentation. My first one is on recruitment and appointment practices. I would like to know, Chairperson, how does the newly approved talent attraction policy address the gaps identified in the recruitment and appointment processes, particularly regarding minimum qualifications for key positions? And also, I would like to know what steps are being taken to ensure that equivalent qualifications are appropriately assessed and aligned with the job requirements. And lastly, Chair, is on accountability and transparency. I would like to know what role does the audit committee play in ensuring ongoing compliance with the recommendations from the legal opinion and independent investigations? Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honourable Mofokeng. Do appreciate. Honourable Subrati, is that a new hand?
No, Chairperson, I'll drop my hand now. Sorry, that's not me.
No problem. Honourable members, I'm going to close this round then, and DAG, I'll give you an opportunity to respond. I'm sure you noted the questions, and you can respond, and we'll then give an opportunity for follow-up if necessary. DAG.
Thank you, Honourable Chair, and thanks for the members for the various questions. Some are similar, and I will combine some of the responses when I deal with it. But I think maybe let me start by giving an overall quick background to this so that it will give context. I didn't deal in details with the matters that were raised by Mr. Mabaso, taking that the committee will have had a chance to go through the legal opinion. But to give context is that he had raised the issues that were approved dating back to 2014, and this talked to the timing. So the matter of the salary increases had happened when AG was DAG and late AG Makwetu was AG. So this will talk to the timing aspect. The salary increases was for 2014 and 2015 before the amendment to the Act happened, which happened in 2019. So that will address the timing question. And it's linked to how was it addressed in the Act. Prior to that, the role of the IRC was not specific. In the new amendment, it was made clear that the Independent Remuneration Committee, and there was a question as to who forms this particular one. I'm going to have to get the names. I know that there were vacancies on the current IRC, which is appointed by the president. So that is the one that gives recommendation for all office bearers, not only AG, but also for yourself as MP and the others. So that particular independent remuneration committee, we were trying to get a meeting with them, and we were advised that there are currently vacancies, and I'm not too sure about other members. Within AGSA, though, we do have a remuneration committee. This is a separate committee to the IRC, which advises the president. The remuneration committee that has been established in line with the PAA, this one, it's made up of, there are members there, the 3 members are all independent, and myself as DAG, I'm part of the members of REMCO. This REMCO is the one that advises the AG on internal remuneration issues. So things such as salary increases, and if we pay performance bonuses, this REMCO advises the AG. Knowing that the AG is an independent body, the REMCO that is formed in terms of PAA makes a recommendation to AG, and she makes the final decision. I'm happy to share the specific names with the members regarding the REMCO that is internal within AGSA. We report on this membership in our annual report on an annual basis, and that information is in the public domain. In terms of the how we have closed off the matter of the interest and whether it was done in the correct manner, what was found is that the appointment letter that the president issued to the AG is silent as to whether interest should be paid. The legal opinion found that while it was silent, by common law, it was expected that interest should be paid. So what was the incorrect part was the period that was used to calculate the interest. So the difference would have been, in terms of the interest, we all recall that unfortunately, AG Makwetu passed away while he was in office in November. His term was going to end of November. So the interests were calculated for the entire period that he should have served in office. But effectively, at the time that he passed away, that is when it was supposed to be done. So the difference was a matter of few days in November that it was overpaid by, and that was not deemed as that significant to pursue it once the estate was closed. I just gave a high-level overview. There was oversight, and I've made a number of considerations. As the accounting officer, I'm expected by the PAA to make certain decisions. In this case, I had given my views to the audit committee, which is an independent one. I had written to the executor of the estate, indicating that there was a slight overpayment with the intention of recovering it from the estate. However, since the estate was already closed, pursuing the matter further to the people that will have received any proceeds, if any, it did not justify the means given the amount that was involved. Because interest by its nature, it should be paid. In terms of how do we ensure that it doesn't happen in the future, what we have since done with some of these issues, we have ensured that the service agreement that has been signed between the AG and myself close off all these things. So on the current agreement with AG Sakane Maluleke, we were specific in terms of how are interests calculated and also the basis of calculating the particular interest. So that matter has been addressed in that fashion that it is now clear that interests are payable, and that has been reduced into the service agreement that has been signed between AG Maluleke and the organization represented by myself. In terms of the case, I forgot to update at the time that we prepared the slides where the case was still being investigated. However, we have since been informed by AG that the prosecution team has decided not to continue with the prosecution. I will deal with how do we insulate the organization from this going forward. We realize that it is important, firstly, to conduct thorough background checks on our employees when we employ them. So at the employment stage, we have increased the checks that we do to check that the employees that are coming on board are indeed who they claim to be. So that test has now been expanded to check various aspects. When people are employed, we have introduced another mechanism where we use an independent firm to do, we call it an ethics review of the senior executives. This has been done at the moment, it's been done for all the ExCo members and the LeadCo members, and now it's been done at a business unit level. While our employees are subjected to the normal security clearance process, we find that process takes too long. So in order to complement it, we have put in place our own internal review where a firm do a review of our people. They have to share their bank statement. They check that the transactions that are being processed there are all above board. And if there are any concerns, those are addressed to myself. Both AG and myself have got access to the individual reports in terms of us making sure that senior executives are not exposed to anything that might tempt them. So we believe that process, in addition to the normal security clearance process, is it's an adequate safeguard that will assist us not to have the same problems going forward. In terms of the there were questions regarding the job profile, and maybe let me give a bit of context. On the allegations, so there were things that related to AG Makwethu, which was the salary increase and the interest. And then there were things around the appointment of 3 officials. In the allegations, and it was alleged that the people that were being mentioned there, they were all not meeting the minimum requirement. The legal opinion dealt with each specific case that was mentioned, and on the first one, it was deemed that the individual was qualified, they met the minimum requirement, and the second one as well, the same thing was also indicated. On the third one, which was regarding the head of communication, what the issue was, the job profile was specific on the nature of the qualification that was required. If the legal opinion, when you go through it in detail, it indicated that the person that was appointed did have a post bachelor's or as an honors equivalent degree. However, it was not the one that was specifically mentioned in the role that was being advertised. Our own assessment, Honorable Chair and Honorable Members, on this matter was that in drafting the job profile and doing the job advert for the support unit, which is something that we don't always do since it's a bit of a specialized area, we did not think broadly in terms of giving the option to consider other alternative degrees. The profile was specific in terms of a postgraduate qualification in journalism and did not allow for other equivalent qualification. So that is the nature of the misalignment. So it wasn't where someone have to be bumped into it. It was that it was specific in terms of this particular qualification. Upon review, and to give context to the members, is that as part of this investigation, I did a review of that process to say, is the individual suitable to be in this job? I've reviewed that the qualification that is got, while was not the one that was specifically mentioned, it's an appropriate qualification for the job that the individual is doing. I can confirm that the individual is one of our best performing staff members. However, when the advert and the job profile was being crafted, it was very specific. And we should have allowed for it to be broader to allow for a variety of journeys. You will not know that being an audit firm, we focus a lot on the audit side of things, and normally the audit qualifications are very specific. We prefer to hire chartered accountants, and we can be specific. In crafting the support unit, and part of the review that we did to ensure that we close this gap was to say, if you want someone who is a communicator, what is the relevant degree? But because people can follow different paths into an end, what we've done was to allow equivalent. So if you get someone who come with a postgraduate qualification, which could be an MBA, but did not follow journalism, do you consider that? And that is the kind of review that we did. So I'm comfortable that we did not bend the rules to accommodate the individual. It was a matter of us not crafting the job profile properly at the time that it was advertised. The review that we did, and it was a question about percentages, there were not a lot that have to be reviewed. And my assessment is that we are fairly clear on the audit side because that's where we normally recruit. But in the specialized areas such as communication, whenever we advertise, we are now specific in terms of what is the ideal qualification, but also give an option to have other equivalent qualification in case someone comes with come with adequate qualification which was not specific. So I am comfortable that the process of appointing the individual then, while it was deemed that it did not speak the specification at that stage, it did not compromise the role that was done. I hope I've addressed most of the questions, Chair. The timing one was done. The IRC one, I've indicated that I don't know the members. Hopefully, someone can assist if they know who they are, if they've been filled. But this IRC is the one that is appointed by the president to advise him. On the Honorable Vilakazi, you have mentioned a number of things. I hope I have covered them. And thank you, Chair. I think I've tried to cover all the questions that. Oh, sorry. There was a transparency part and the internal control from Honorable Mofokeng. So, as a standard practice, Chair, we do our own risk assessment on a regular basis, and we try to address any risks that we do identify. In addition, we do have an internal control. So we do have internal auditors who we appoint an audit firm that do the internal control. This internal auditors reports to the audit committee. So in addition to us doing our own self-assessment, the internal auditors do a review of a number of areas. The way that their work is governed is that there's an annual audit plan, which is based on the risk assessment that we do on a regular basis. They give a view to the audit committee in terms of the controls that they have assessed. So part of the work which they did, which they have to do recently, is to give an opinion to audit committee to say, based on the work that they have done, are there any concerns on any aspect that they have reviewed? And they give an annual assessment. That annual assessment becomes input into the report that the audit committee will give to yourself as part of our annual submission to you. So that gives us comfort that from an internal control perspective, we get advice, and if there are findings, we do try to address them as and when we can. Honorable Chair, the audit committee, when they come to you, they will give you much more context in terms of the oversight that they provide to the institution to ensure that the internal control environment are done. And I think this covers the part about how do we monitor the internal control on an ongoing basis. Lastly, there is the external audit process that also review and that issue a report to audit committee and also to yourself, Honorable Chair. Thank you.
Thank you very much, DAG, for the answering of the questions. Honourable members, any follow-up questions? I see Honourable Vilakazi. You can have the first bite.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you to the DAG for the explanations, which were clear. Excuse me. I would just make a comment in regard to the questions that I had asked about the realignment, the review and realignment of the job specs. And that is just to highlight the fact that the Auditor-General is held to a higher standard than basically any other institution within the country. And so when it seems as if there are actions within the Auditor-General's office that themselves are questionable, it can then not really taint, but just call to question the authority and the integrity of the office. And the question on my mind, Deputy Auditor General, even as you are giving this explanation, which seemed quite clear to you, and you make it clear to us, but my question was, if the AG finds that there's a municipality or a government department that it is reviewing that has done the same, that has appointed someone simply because they know this person, they like this person, the person has worked there for 20 years, but the person did not have the specific qualification as required by the rules at that time and by the job description at that time, would the AG itself not raise a finding in that instance? And so if the AG is going to make these changes for itself, we just need to satisfy ourselves that it is indeed above board and it is the kind of thing that the AG itself would not flag were it happening somewhere else because of the high standard to which the AG is held within this critical role that it plays in the overall oversight of the government. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Honourable Vilakazi. Any further follow-up questions, honourable members? I don't see any hands. Then I'll give you an opportunity to respond, DAG.
Thank you, Honorable Chair and Honorable Member. I think it's a critical question that you are asking as to how will AG treat this matter, and I think I will allow AG Tsakan Maleke to comment on that. In terms of the particular role, the Deputy AG as the head of administration is responsible for crafting the administration, deciding on the minimum qualification that people should do, and that I believe that it was done properly. In this particular case, and I try to not repeat, but I think for the benefit of the member, if you recall on the presentation that was shared, and I do appreciate that Honorable Blackers might not have it, so if you can give me a bit of indulgence to just talk to the specific matter, because I think the context becomes important. On the presentation and also on the legal opinion that will have been shared for the purpose of the meeting that happened last week. And I'll go back to the specific because I think it will give context. Is that in December of 2022, the AG appointed Mr. Harold Maloka to the role of business unit leader of communication. And the allegation was saying Mr. Maloka did not meet the minimum qualification as per the job advertisement. The legal opinion went to look into the details, and what it was said is that the job requirement was a B degree, and it says a postgraduate diploma in communication /PR/journalism/public administration. And also the person should be registered with a professional body with 5 to 10 years experience. On the legal opinion and also upon my own assessment post the fact, it was revealed that Mr. Maloka does have a degree from VETS, which is a Business Management Advanced Program Certificate, which is an NQF level 8. So I think it was important to give the specific that it's not a question of the person did not have a post-level qualification, but it was not what was mentioned in the specs. Upon review of this particular qualification, I believe that the qualification was relevant for the job, except that at the time of crafting the specification, we did not make it broad enough to cover these things. So I believe that whilst upon review, being an independent person who was not there at the time of making this appointment, I was comfortable that had we thought broadly about it, we would have given an option for an equivalent. So what was incorrect in the specs was the fact that we did not give the option to say equivalent. So it's not about changing it. It's about that if you are specific and someone bring something that is similar, but you have not given that option in the specs, that was what was incorrect with this particular issue. So it's not that the person was not qualified. It's just that the specification did not specifically mention other options. And upon review, which we did, and I'm comfortable that the qualification that the individual has got is an appropriate qualification. The only error was that we did not specifically mention it in the requirement. So the way it was corrected was not to lower the job profile. It was to allow for equivalent qualification. So to make it simple, if people want to have a CA, they will not, to have a CFO, they will normally say minimum requirement, they may say a CASA, and say and then they also give MBA. So if someone comes that did not follow a CA road or as an MBA, but followed a different road, if you don't give the option for an equivalent, it can then be seen to be a problem. So I'm comfortable, honorable members and honorable chair, that we did not lower the requirement. We just tightened how we craft our specification. And that was the main flaw with this particular issue. And the opinion did find that Mr. Maloka did have the right qualification. It was just that it was not the one that was mentioned. It says his appointment I had to go and review as part of the process that was suggested by this legal opinion, and I did a fair review, and I'm comfortable that his qualification is appropriate, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you very much, DAG. AG, I don't know if you want to respond.
Thank you, Honourable Chair. I see from the chat that the Honourable Member is comfortable with the explanation that the DAG has given. One of the things that we have learned out of this experience is that we had significant weaknesses in the practices within the human resources area. And since then, we have gone to great lengths to strengthen the capabilities and the ongoing practices so that we don't end up in a situation where you end up with job profiles that are going to end up with this sort of issue where there's that sort of debate. It's important also to remember, Honourable Chair, that the key issue for any institution is to learn from those practices and find every which way to strengthen the environment. So I hope I've answered the question. If I haven't, I'm happy to be guided by the Honourable Member, Vilakazi, and yourself, Chair.
Thank you very much, AG. I think that does assist. And honourable members, I think we've exhausted this issue. Thank you very much once again for the presentation, DAG, and for the clarity that you've provided. Thank you for the team from AGSA. We will now move on to the next items on our agenda. And the team from AGSA, you're most welcome to leave the meeting. You are excused. You're welcome to stay as well if you would want to, but you are welcome to leave. We have mostly household issues, which firstly is the adoption of our strat plan. Honourable members, it was distributed yesterday. I firstly want to thank the honourable members that did send inputs, and those inputs, together with the inputs that were made in our virtual meeting, were taken into consideration and incorporated as well as possible. And most of what was mentioned and what was suggested as focus areas are incorporated, maybe not word for word, but to a large extent, the outcome will be the same. There's provision for those focus areas as it relates to our mandate, obviously. So where it did not necessarily completely where it wasn't in line completely with our mandate, it wasn't incorporated as a specific indicator, but I think you would see that all the inputs were incorporated. Honourable members, we do have a challenge where the acting content advisor, Mr. Mgaji, is currently at the NAPC meeting, where he is presenting. He's the unit manager of the financial cluster, and as you would know, they are currently discussing if we are still going to sit the 17th of December or if we're going to be released earlier at the end of this term, but if we are going to come back very early in January, on the 12th of January, to consider the adjustment appropriation bill. So he is there at the moment, and they are meeting to discuss those issues. But I don't think it's necessary for him to be present unless there's very big issue with the proposed strat plan. So, honourable members, I'll appreciate if you can guide us, and I'll take your guidance as if we can consider it now. If there's any big problems, let me also just qualify that the strat plan is not cast in stone. And as you know, we have the deadline to submit today. But if we submit, we can always revisit and we can always tweak later and amend to incorporate certain other issues or to change certain indicators if you so wish. So let me be guided by you. Do you want to consider it now? Is there any big issue with the draft strat plan as circulated? And do you want us to go through it indicator for indicator, which might assist us in adopting it as quickly as possible? Any suggestions or guidance in this regards, honourable members? Honourable Murray.
Thank you, Chair. No, I'm satisfied, and as you stated, it's not cast in stone, and I really want this committee to actually finalize it as at the cut-off date, at least, that we submit it today, and if any changes are needed, it could be done in future. Thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Murray. That does assist. Honourable Ligahaba.
No, I'm really covered with what Honorable Murray said. I think let's give them chance, then they go and consolidate, then we'll deal with it later.
Okay, but we submit, Honourable Ligahaba, do I understand you correctly that we submit the draft that was circulated now, and that we then revisit it at a stage to refine if necessary? Do I understand?
Yes. Yeah.
Rekazi?
Thank you. Thank you, Chair. I am also comfortable that we can submit it and that we can submit it today. And any changes, then we can work through them as we go along. I just wanted to point out a few observations that I had. I did reach out to Mr. Mkaji and we had a conversation about it. So he's aware. One of the things that I felt was fundamentally perhaps worth looking at is the fact that the committee's vision, mission, and values are the same as Parliament's vision, mission, and values. That might seem noble, Chair, but the problem with that is if you think of Parliament as Woolworths, the Woolworths Group, and each committee is like the clothing line, it's like the food shop, it's like the grocery, the filling station grocery, the dash business. Each one of those contributes to the broader Woolworths vision, but each one in its own specific way. And particularly for SCoAG, which has a mandate that is unique in a way to the mandates of the other committees. So while I'm of the view that whatever vision, mission, and values the committee has, I feel that for all committees, actually, they should look at what is their own specific contribution, what should their point of the arrow, what do they contribute to the overall vision of Parliament, because not all committees don't all contribute to that vision in the same way. So that's the first thing. But I'm not saying, I'm not going to lose sleep over it, certainly, and I'm not saying let the committee's work stop here because of that. And also, this is using a template that is given by Parliament anyway. So it's a conversation to be taken at that level. But I just thought I'd point it out to the committee that was one thing that I noted. And then there was just something to do with grammar in the part about mandate. It says that the mandate comes from the Section 10.3 of the Public Audit Act. I just proposed that we add as amended, because some of the stipulations are from those amendments that have since been implemented or applied to it. And then we also did have a discussion around the strategic objectives. I'm in agreement with the 6 objectives as listed by the Secretariat. And I think that I noticed that on their template, and I know that this is a Parliament template, it's not a SCoAG Secretariat template, there is a whole lot more of objectives and indicators. And I think that it can misdirect the thinking process and even the oversight and monitoring process when we don't, for example, have outcomes. We need the way that monitoring frameworks normally work is that you will have the vision, you will have the strategic objective. For that, each strategic objective, you have an outcome, and then it is that outcome that you use to build the KPIs, the indicators, my apologies, the key indicators, and from there, the targets, etc. But the Parliament template does not have outcomes. So my recommendation would be that we don't jump that step. The Secretariat still in its own supporting documentation have those outcomes, because that is what we need. That's how we know whether an indicator works, or not. So, and then the only other thing that I noted was that on the budget, there is 1.4 million budgeted for flights this year, and then the amount reduces drastically in subsequent years. And the question on my mind had been, okay, what exactly is that about? And I don't know if other members would have appreciated an explanation, but that was sort of the thinking in my mind. So overall, Chair, I'm happy to support it. I do think that we need to take all these many objectives, etc., that are on the strategic plan currently, and just hone them down to the 6, reduce them to the 6. In fact, even amongst the 6, Chair, my proposal is that 3 and 4 be combined, because both of them speak generally to the same thing. But keep it to those, to the committee objectives, and not this myriad of other issues, and just ensure that SCoAG manages those on an ongoing basis. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honourable Vilakazi. Do appreciate. On the flights issue, on the budget issue, the reason why it's higher in 1 year is to make provision for the study tour, which is one of the areas on the in the strat plan, that is something that would be undertaken as part of capacity building. So that budget is aligned to that, and then the rest is the normal flights, which does not big amount to overseas travel. So to answer your question with regards to that, but I do take note of what you said, and I think we should take it further. But as you've also said, you are satisfied with adopting this now, and then refining it later. But let me hear from the Honourable Subrati his opinion on the matter. Honourable Subrati.
Thank you, Chairperson. Chairperson, let me welcome the strat plan that has been drafted by the content advisor. Like many of us, we sit in other committees as well. And all committees have been applying themselves in terms of how we approach this. And I think what's important is that we approach it seriously, that this does not turn out to be a tick box exercise, that we don't end up being accused of putting in items just for the purpose of achieving it and putting a tick box. So I think for me, it's very important that we apply ourselves carefully. And I think that has been, I can see that coming through here in the way the content advisor has extrapolated the targets over the years. And I think the areas of the figures that he's put in is something that the committee should discuss and agree. It's unwise to agree on certain outcomes on a draft unless all members are happy, unless we've really looked into, is this achievable and is this realistic? Is it an under-targeting or is it an over-targeting? So in principle, I'm happy to support the report going through as a draft. And I want to say as a draft, not as a final report for compliance. As a draft, I will support it. We haven't seen the chairperson's forward, for example, into this year. It would be useful to see the chairperson's forward. That is not here. There is no contents page in this draft here. So it is quite empty. So I'm happy to support us submitting a draft so that Parliament is aware that we have applied ourselves. And the reason we are deferring the, I wouldn't say the adoption, but I think we do need to have a discussion with the content advisor, because he is the one. For example, the ANC study group made recommendations of, in terms of legislative intervention, of an other material irregularity as a legislative intervention, noting on the basis that we need to tighten the net. I don't see that adequately being represented here. And I do believe that that is an important tip that we should give and empower. We should consider that as SCoAG, whether we should consider, just as how MI was introduced, should we consider another level of irregularity, calling it other, maybe for the lesser, or those that are not considered to be material. So I'm happy to support it on the basis that we have a discussion in the fourth term where we look at it in greater detail and agree as a committee that this is on a line-by-line item, because otherwise I don't think it's something that we're really going to hold ourselves accountable to. We have all read it, but I think the benefit of us going through it collectively and as a team and saying, okay, guys, we agree to this and we hold ourselves accountable, I do believe that process should take place. So I support the adoption of it on the basis that we pencil in a session in the fourth term to do this exercise. Thank you so much, Chairperson.
Thank you, Honourable Kubrati. I think that does assist. Even on, for instance, the proposal that you made with regards to the review of if there should be another type of irregularity, that comes down to the review of the Public Audit Act that we did put in as an outcome. And that we would look at not in the next 2 years, but if I remember correctly, third, fourth year, to have a review from what we then gather from our different various engagements throughout these coming terms with regards to, as we would all have these issues that we ventilate with regards to, is there something else, for instance, needed, another classification in our engagements with the AG on the effectiveness of the audits with other stakeholders and so forth. And then we'll get, and from our study tours and so forth, we'll get to a review process of looking at the Public Audit Act. So it is incorporated there. It's not. It's just not in details with regards to what specifically, because it's always the balance between what Honourable Bilakasi also said, not to make it too much, but then it is not always in much detail. So there's provision for that, but I do agree that we should go through a lot of those specifics. 2 meetings here, 3 meetings there, and talk about is that what we actually want. I think the gist is there, and that's what I actually also meant in the beginning, that all the inputs are incorporated in the gist, but it's that how many meetings should there be, that specifics that's not necessarily agreed upon, or that we haven't scrutinized thoroughly yet. So my forward is done. I will just send an updated version to the Secretariat to include, and that, let's call it a final draft, will then be, if you agree with the way, will then be shared on the group together with the APP, because the APP has not been populated since the amendments that I myself made to the strat plan. The APP is literally just what is in the strat plan over the 5 years with regards to the next year, to just incorporate or populate that in terms thereof. So that has not been done. It should just be updated now. So the final draft strat plan together with the APP will just be circulated on the WhatsApp group as soon as possible now during the course of the morning after this meeting. And members, you are then welcome to say if you agree then, or still agree that we submit this as the Honourable Subrati proposed, that it still remains a draft, but it is what will guide us. And then we do schedule a meeting to have a more thorough engagement on the specifics of the strat plan in the fourth quarter. Do I sum that up correctly? And are you I see there's agreement and that it has been conditional, but everybody does agree. Honourable members, then we can step off this topic, and we can then consider the report on the Mbazo complaint. It has been circulated. Can I ask Samara, can you just flag that for us? Honourable members, I don't think we have the luxury of time to go through it page by page and paragraph for paragraph. So I'm sure you did go through it. It was circulated. Is there any corrections that members have seen that you want to point out, or can we go straight to recommendations? Any corrections? Better, can you go to the last page, please? And then just up, go up 2 pages. Just for the last part there, just stop there. Just down. Apologies. Just down. 3.11 is to a large extent what we decided. So I want you to be comfortable with the wording of 3.11. The committee deliberated on all the documentary evidence before it and concluded that there is no prima facie evidence which necessitates further investigation of the matter, and that the complaint is meritless. There is no basis to the allegations that the AG acted unprofessionally or unethically. And obviously, the basis for this, to just put it on record once again, is that the AG acted when she was DAG within the prescripts as it existed at that stage. So, for instance, as we got the briefing now, the salary increase that she approved, that is what the then Public Audit Act said. But that problem was being corrected with the amendment. So she did not act with outside of her powers, but there was inefficiencies in the prescripts. And I think 3.11, is the substance thereof. And then you can go down, Zubaida, to the part D again. And that has been the recommendations that we conclude the matter. and that we inform the complainant, and that we then have the DAG briefing that we did today. Members, are you comfortable with this report and satisfied that that is what we decided? Any observations? Any corrections? Or any movement for the adoption? Anybody?
Move. Marie.
Thank you, Honourable Marie. So there's a mover for the adoption. Is there a seconder? Honourable Likakaba.
Okay.
I second.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Any objections? No objections. Then the report is adopted. It will be tabled. Honourable Subrati, sorry.
Sorry, Chairperson, just on the last point, 5.3, just on the wording, the committee would on 19 September invite DAG to brief. I mean, we are adopting this today.
Yes.
So I find that inappropriate that we say it would on 19. I would propose, because we have met DAG, I think for the purpose of a completeness of the report and for South Africans to know we have fully dealt with, the report should actually conclude that the committee on the 19th of September met with the DAG and who briefed them on all the concerns, something to that effect, and the committee was satisfied that all the concerns that were raised were adequately dealt with and sufficient mitigation measures have been taken. I think that will give conclusion to this report in its entirety, because we have now covered the fringe elements as well. So I don't support the report in its present form that on will meet. It should confirm that today we have met, we have discussed it, and we have accepted the explanations, and we are satisfied that the Office of the AG has taken the necessary mitigation measures and the explanations have been satisfactory. If it can be amended to that effect, I will be happy, Chairperson.
Thank you, Honourable Subrati. That also bothered me, but I didn't have a solution. You provided a solution, so I'm grateful. Honourable members, are you satisfied with that amendment as it was put, and it will then be amended as such, that we met, we got the briefing, and we are satisfied that those weaknesses have been sufficiently dealt with?
Thank you, Chairperson. I'm satisfied with that.
Agree.
There is agreement, and the original adoption then stands, and we can then conclude on this matter. Thank you very much, honourable members, for that, and so that we can finalize this in a long-standing issue. And I also think it was good to get the briefing and to engage on those issues that were raised, so that we are satisfied and so that we provide the necessary scrutiny with regards to that. Honourable members, then it's the fourth term program that we also have to submit, and it's obviously a framework that will change, as you know, because there's always changes to the program, which affects our program. But this is a framework, so that we can just adopt it and submit it, so that we can have a framework, but we'll still be informed of any programming changes that will then necessitate a specific change of dates as it relates to certain meetings. But the proposal here is certain specific meetings which we have to have and engage with. You'll see the first one is with regards to the reports that we just we'd want to adopt, and then a meeting on the integrated annual report. Members that were already members of the committee last year would remember the meeting that we had in that regard last year, and it would be the similar type of meeting and engagement. then we have to have a meeting on the strat and budget. Let's go down again. The strat plan and the budget of the AG. And so that meeting is proposed there, and then a meeting at the end of the term just to adopt those two reports on the annual report and on the budget. Is there any comments? We will then, Honourable Subrati, just make provision for an item on our strat plan so that we further engage in our strat plan in one of those meetings. It might be possible to have it either on that first meeting where we are only going to adopt reports, 24th of October, or maybe on one of those other meetings, which does not necessarily have a long agenda. Honourable Subrati.
Thank you, Chairperson. Thank you for that consideration. I would also propose, Chairperson, the time you're allocating of 1 hour, it's really very low. When you're looking at the strat plan of the AG, this is what the AG is intending to do for the year. It's almost a rush to fill in an hour. Now we need to, and this is premised on the basis that there's going to be mini plenaries from 10 to 1 o'clock. I assume this is the basis on which we are looking at it. So I'm not too comfortable allocating an hour. I mean, how much of presentation time and discussion time you're going to have on a strat plan of the AGSA? That is an important report. I think at the least we should start at 8 o'clock till about 9:45 or 8 to 9:30. That gives us 30 minutes more. But certainly 8:30 to 9:30 is too little for the strat plan of the AGSA. So that would be one of my additions. And obviously, it's premised on the basis that if there is no mini plenary on one of those Fridays on the day of the strat plan, then we should extend that time. Because that's when we can really have a deeper conversation with the AGSA. Otherwise, where does the deeper conversation come up between us and them? Okay, so that would be my recommendation on the day. I'm not too sure which date it is of the strat plan. At least in its present form, let's give it 30 minutes more, start at 8. And if there's no mini plenary, then I think we should extend that time. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you, Honourable Subrati. No, I missed that it was there that it's 8:30. It should be 8 o'clock. I think that is our mythology at the moment that we start at 8 o'clock. I know I just can't find the program now quickly, but I know there is 1 or 2 Fridays that there's no plenary scheduled at the moment that I did saw when I briefly looked at this. That I also thought that we can then extend the end time. So once again, it's also because the NAPC met this morning, and there's a lot of changes to the program, and we will only receive a finalized program over the weekend. So I think, honourable members, with those considerations, that we will try to obviously get more time allocated to these engagements, especially where we engage with the AG, so that we adopt this as a framework, but that we consider the final program of National Assembly and try to work in more time allocated to these meetings as far as possible. Are we satisfied with that? Can we adopt it as such?
Thank you, Chairperson. Chairperson, I move for the adoption of the report. Thank you for your explanation. And I appreciate also, Chairperson, let me also appreciate your leadership in these meetings. It's been a very tight and constrained times. Last week, I thought would have been an impossibility. But I think, thank you so much for managing the time very well and leading us and ensuring, whilst we have limited time, we continue to provide the necessary oversight as members of SCoAG. And let me also appreciate the contributions of Honorable Velakazi. For a new member, I've been delighted by his very pointed and sharpened contribution. And thank you so much for your leadership of this committee.
Thank you, Honourable Subrati. Do appreciate the kind words, but it's all of us together. We're a team, and thank you very much for all of you making it possible that we can, under these difficult circumstances, because they gave us a Friday meeting slot, and we have to make the best thereof, but it makes it difficult because there's many plenaries and other commitments and other committees and so forth. But thank you very much. I think we are doing well, given these constraints. Honourable Mofokeng.
Thank you, Chairperson. I'm seconding the adoption of the report. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honourable Mofokeng. Then we will submit this off-term program. If there's any changes that's necessitated, we will communicate, and we'll engage on it in that way. Honourable members, that concludes our meeting. Thank you very much for your attendance. Thank you very much for your contributions and your positive way of engaging and fulfilling our mandate and providing the necessary oversight. Thank you very much, and have a good weekend. All the best for colleagues participating still in debates later today. But have a good weekend and a good rest, and we'll see each other in the fourth term. And we will communicate the strat plan. On the group, please just indicate if there's any big problem. Otherwise, we'll submit it with conditionally, as we've discussed. Thank you very much, and have a good day.
Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you, Chair, and enjoy your weekend too. Bye.